champagne, pop. It's my house, come on, turn it up.
When it comes to buying or selling your home, you want someone in your corner who has their finger on the pulse of the housing market. If you're looking to invest in real estate, you need a team that can help make sure your numbers work. Trust Real Estate Today with Cindi and Jody and the years of experience that they bring to the table. Call or text the studio at 267-1023 or message us on Facebook at the Richardson Group, KW Cleveland. You can also reach our office at 790-7979 or online at rg423.com. Each Keller Williams office is independently owned and operated. Everybody, welcome to Real Estate Today with Cindi and Jody, and we are glad to be here live and local today, as we love to say so much on WGOW during the week, with Miss Cindi Richardson and Miss Jody Gatlin. How are you doing this morning, ladies?
Good. And Jack's with us too. He's just over here hiding.
He's decided he doesn't want to be on camera if you're watching on Facebook Live. A little segue there. If you are watching us on Facebook Live, do remember that we monitor that. We welcome your questions. We're here to help you. So today, I think we're going to get right into it. I think it's very normal. Anybody that is purchasing their first home,
home period,
or home period, yes, is terrified of making a bad decision. Terrified of getting into something that's over their head. So yeah, if you have seen the movie, I think about the scene with Tom Hanks and is it Shelley Long?
Yes.
The 80s movie where the bathtub falls through the second story into the main level of the home. And so we're going to talk about ways you can avoid that and what happens, maybe if you get in a situation where you are a little over your head.
And there is no perfect home. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're buying new, used, there is no perfect home, and very, very few homes that can't be repaired back to livable.
Well, and I think it's just about understanding what you're getting yourself into and making sure that you have the mental preparedness and the financial preparedness to deal with, so that you're going in eyes wide open. You understand what's happening. I think kind of the first thing that I think most people think about when they're afraid of buying a money pit is an older home. And it's kind of some of the caveats that go along with that.
And even if you completely, because even our office, which was built in 1940, we remodeled it. We took it all the way down to the studs. So new wiring, new everything. And it still has some issues of being an older home.
Well,
so,
and you think you got it all,
right,
and something happens,
Right. There is no way to get it all in an older home. There is constant maintenance. So even one that looks very good, just know if you're buying an older home that you're getting an older home.
Well, the first home that I bought when I moved to Cleveland, I think was built in 1948, something in that ballpark. These guys know that's my jam. I love old houses. I love renos and fixers and all of that good stuff. But it was amazing to me just the difference in the way things were built. Something as simple as, we're going to move the opening for the door to the bedroom. We were 2x4 shiplap walls behind the sheetrock, so it wasn't as simple as just we're going to move a door. It was a big undertaking.
It is, and I think the thing is where a lot of people, and if you're an HGTV or things like that, although the fixer-uppers, the hometowns
make it look so easy.
You're taking older homes and you're putting a ton of work in, but I think the thing is it's hard to understand what a remodel project looks like when you only see it in a half an hour or an hour clip.
And so many people are all about that, thanks to, and don't get me wrong, I'm thankful for that, but it's given a lot of people misconceptions about what goes into it. Are you really interested in how often do we say somebody wants a fixer-upper and they go in and smell it, or they don't understand the things that you can't see behind the wall? So are you talking about you're good with cosmetics versus big things? You mentioned our office, an older home built in 1940. I think one of the good examples is we redid everything, literally everything, down to the studs, and then didn't think about the fact that the plumbing from the house to the road then was still really, really old. So it was like, we're done. Just kidding. Now you got to replace some plumbing.
Well, and just things that you don't expect in an older home. I think one of the things that hit us later was that the eaves, the soffits, are not as wide as they are in today's. I mean, even there's sections of the home that have no type of soffits because that's just the way that it was done back then, which then leads to you have to be very careful about the drainage because then if the water's dropping and hitting the house, you have to be very careful. And again, that's just the characteristics of the construction back then.
Well, and let's go back to the money pit situation, okay? You've bought an older home. The things that you need to really be concerned about when we talk about a money pit, has there been multiple renovations throughout a 100-year period of time. How were things done at those periods of time? If you're not comfortable with electrical problems, plumbing problems, and we're going to get into another segment talking about ways that you can circumvent those, but to me, when it comes to an older home, that would be a scary situation when you've had, 9 different types of electrical wiring and 4 different types of plumbing, and do you have screw-in fuses and those sort of things.
Some of the older homes, too, do not have enough clearance in the crawl spaces to be able to get somebody under there to actually take a look to see how your supports and everything look. And if you are doing some remodeling, sometimes that involves pulling the flooring up to be able to reach under the home.
Well, I know things like we didn't even really think about, we were turning a residential home into a business, so it was a different undertaking. But things like the width of staircases, drastically different back then versus now. Yeah. The types of plumbing fixtures and tubs. And so if you're going to replace those things, making sure that floors are supported and joists are the way they're supposed to be. And again, I love that. I love an older home. But you got to know eyes wide open what you're getting into when you start, so that you don't end up in that money pit type situation.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing for everybody to remember is everybody's a little bit different for what they're looking for as a motive. You said, is it cosmetic? Is it a full-blown remodel? Those are big differences to where I'm looking for a fixer-upper. Most of my buyers, I want a fixer-upper. I might want to come in and replace the cabinets.
Yeah, take down some wallpaper.
Yeah. It's not a full-blown, you're going sheetrock off the wall to the studs, you're moving walls and doors and putting in beams.
I think for most people, if they're buying an older home, I think most people know going in that it is going to cost more money. It is going to have a little more maintenance than some of the other homes. But I think that the second thing when buying being careful not to get into a money pit, is if you're buying a home that is 15 to 20 years old that has large items that have not been repaired.
Well, that's
or not repaired but replaced, and they're all reaching the end of their life expectancy at the same time.
We were talking when we were preparing for the show. Cindi kind of yelled across the office and was like, "What do you think about when you avoiding buying a money pit?" And that was one of the things that she and I both said. Things have a lifespan. It doesn't mean that something was done incorrectly. It doesn't mean that it was wrong, but about that 10 to 15 year period, your appliances, your HVAC unit's going to need some tune up. Those things are very, very normal. And if everything in the house is the same age and is original, it's very common for those things to start to happen all at once. Does that mean you have a money pit?
Not if you go in it knowing it.
Again,
if you go in
yes.
thinking that you have a roof that's going to last you 10, 15 years and you discover that you have 1 or 2 years left, then that could be a problem. And windows are things that people really kind of overlook when they're buying a home, especially when you're 15 to 25 years old. You feel like it's a newer home, but in all reality, you've got to pay attention to those windows, because based on the quality of them and the direction of the sun and how they've been maintained, how the house is settled, windows are extremely expensive now.
Well, and it goes back to maintenance. That's why it's so important to do those yearly things. It's normal for things to have a lifespan, a life expectancy, and they're going to need some, tweaks and replacement along the way. If you bought an older home that someone has done those things, that can, work leaps and bounds to protect you from buying a money pit. But have you bought a home where nothing's been done to any of those original components? Like Cindi said, you better make sure in the price or in your reserve funds that you've built in to be able to handle those things, because it's going to, and it does never fails, it all starts to kind of happen at the same time. So,
Well, and that kind of goes into the number 3 where we're talking about energy efficiency, but if you look at the age of things too, but also look at the building code when it was put in. So like central heat and air units, if it's one that they back in 2005 and 6, the codes were very different than they are now. So then you could actually run your second level and your main level off the same unit, or you could use the same unit on the main level and the basement. So one unit was carrying all of that, whereas now you have to have a separate unit in the basement or in other areas, which that makes a huge difference in your electrical bills. So make sure when you're buying a home that you're looking at those average electric bills, because the last thing you want to do is discover you just bought a house that has electric bills that are going to run $400 to $600 a month.
And that, you brought up a really important point. building codes. Guys, I can't tell you how many times I hear, that's not the code, that's not the code. You can't require a homeowner to bring an older home up to current code. If that is something that you want to do as a homeowner, by all means, and like Cindi said, it can drastically improve your energy efficiency, your bills, the cost to do that. And it's something that you can negotiate into a contract, some of those repairs and that sort of thing. But the way things were done when the house is built is the way they had to be done.
Right. You just need to be aware of it so that it doesn't become a financial strain. Even along the energy efficiency too. So your insulation would have been very different then too. And the code back in, several years ago, it was not required that you insulate in the garage, between the garage, and if there was a bonus room finished above it, you did not have to insulate in between. Now you have to. So if your home falls during that period that you didn't have to do that, your electric bills are going to run higher because there is no insulation between that garage and that bonus room.
And you go back to older homes. I mean, I've been in older homes, that investors were flipping to sell, and you would have, brick walls, 2x4 shiplap top, plaster on the outside of that, and wood windows. No insulation that we know of insulation today.
Right.
That doesn't mean that things were done incorrectly. They were done to the best of their ability at the time, what the building code was. But can you imagine you go into that house and add insulation and vinyl insulated windows, and what does that do to your energy efficiency, to your everyday bills? So it's a lot of money on the front end, but it's saving you a lot of money on the back end.
Well, and I think a lot of things too, for a lot of people that come from different areas. When you have someone that comes from the Midwest, Northeast, homes are built different and to different specifications. I have a lot of people that come from Northern Midwest to where roofs are built super high structure because they have to be able to carry a massive snow load. And then when they get down here and look at houses, they're built totally different. Well, that's because we don't have to build to suit some of those environmental things that you have in those areas. Yes, we look at insulation and
it's
windows
what's code
and
what is
that.
customary.
What's code there for you is not what is code down here because we don't have those specific types of geographical weather phenomenons.
Right.
I mean, I would love it if we got like 3 feet of snow every winter. That would be great.
None of our houses would love that. Yeah.
But we don't live in an area where that's commonplace.
Yeah.
Right.
And so many heat pumps in this area too. That would be a huge issue.
And I think it just all goes back to understanding and going in eyes wide open. There's not a right or a wrong, but if you budget and you prepare for the fact that you're going to need to take care of X, Y, and Z, it's not drastic. It's not a money pit. It doesn't mean anything is wrong. So yeah.
All right, we'll step away and take our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about how to avoid buying a money pit and how to make the most of your buying experience. This is Real Estate Today with Cindi and Jody on Talk Radio 102.3.
Live and local talk all day long. Folks, do you understand what that means? That means there's someone here, live, local, not from some other place and not from another state or another network. They're right here, live and local to you all day long from 6 a.m. until 7 p.m.
I do listen in the shower, yeah.
Talk Radio 102.3. The Talk Monster.
Paid for by government. Did you hear? A secret hoard of 1893 $10 gold Liberty coins has been found. These gorgeous 1893p gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck, and less than 100 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling this secret U.S. gold coin discovery a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and you can own a piece of the hoard. When you call, you are guaranteed an 1893 gold Liberty struck at the iconic Philadelphia Mint. With limited availability, you must call now. These 1893 dated gold coins are still in uncirculated condition with brilliant luster. That is 131 years of history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-888-201-7051. Call now and you'll receive a free bonus of $50 value free with every order. Call 1-888-201-7051 now to secure your 1893p $10 gold Liberty coins before they sell out. That's 1-888-201-7051.
If you want to get into real estate, call Cindi Richardson. Cindi offers individualized training, full-time support staff, and the kind of expert marketing to bring business to you. Go to rg423.com and talk to Cindi Richardson. You'll be glad you did.
Do you want the highest possible offer for the sale of your home? Do you want to move into your dream home but still need to sell your current home? You got to stop all the drama, folks, and you got to call my great friend Cindi Richardson with the Richardson Group. Cindi Jody, you can hear him here every Saturday at 9 o'clock. Yes, skip the showings, repairs. Call 423-790-7979 or go to rg423.com. Start packing. They'll buy your house. Just get it over with. 790-7979. Are you ready to move into your dream home, but you still need to sell your current home? It can be a really hectic process. It doesn't have to be. If you contact Cindi Richardson of the Richardson Group, an immediate cash offer for your home, skip the showing, the repairs, go straight to sold. This team is definitely worth its weight in sold. That's one word you hear all the time from people who go to 790-7979. That's the phone number, 423-790-7979, or go online, rg423.com. Cindi Jody, you can hear him here every Saturday at 9 o'clock. Yes, skip the showings, repairs. Call 423-790-7979 or go to rg423.com. Start packing. Home selling can be like watching a really long play that never seems to end. I promise you, this play will just be one act, and that's sold. 790-7979. Go online, rg423.com. Do you want the highest possible offer for the sale of your home? Do you want to move into your dream home but still need to sell your current home? You got to stop all the drama, folks, and you got to call my great friend Cindi Richardson with the Richardson Group, online at rg423.com.
Talk 102.3. Welcome back to Real Estate Today with Cindi and Jody. Get your real estate questions answered on the air. Call or text the studio, 267-1023. We're also answering questions live on the Richardson Group Facebook page. So we've been talking a lot this morning about getting into avoiding buying a money pit. So as a buyer, what's something that I can look for to kind of help give me a leg up on knowing what's going on with my home?
You can always take a look at the property condition disclosure while you're looking at a home. And I would recommend that you talk to your agent to see if they can pull any previous property condition disclosures. So if on our system, our multiple listing system, if the old listing is still there, you might be able to find previous owners' property condition disclosures. That way you can take a look and see if there's anything that they may have disclosed.
Well, and I'm going to jump in there too, for those of you all that do not know. In the state of Tennessee, a seller who resides in the property at any point in the 3 years prior to them selling it is required to disclose any adverse facts. There's a questionnaire that they fill out, basically just to kind of give you an overview of any issue they're aware of, things that they've dealt with, any malfunctions, things of that sort. And like Cindi said, sometimes it's just an honest mistake. 4 sales back, someone disclosed something that doesn't get disclosed on the most current copy of the property condition, but it can be a really good indicator of like age of the roof. Did they, have a massive roof leak that they fixed? And these current owners may truly not know about that, because it wasn't disclosed to them or it's been so long and it wasn't something that they dealt with, but you can find that sometimes back through the archives. So it's not always an issue of someone trying to pull one over on you. Just they may not be aware. But like Cindi said, if your agent can track down a previous property condition disclosure, then that's a really good place to start. And really, that property condition disclosure should be your first place that you look, because it's going to open your eyes to anything.
Yeah, and you should always take a look at it prior to making an offer.
Yeah, technically, you can't ask them to fix something that they disclosed unless you ask for it during the offer, so you can't come back and bring that up. So really important, again, to go in eyes wide open.
I think when people think of money pits, probably the biggest thing is foundation issues. I think that scares a lot of people, and that's something people just don't want to get into because that can get very expensive.
And it's terrifying. Yeah. I mean, it really is. The last thing you want is a house that's going to structurally, have major problems.
I just want to kind of caution here too. If you feel like you want to have that looked at, I would recommend a structural engineer. Don't call one of these places that's wonderful at marketing that is going to financially benefit from telling you that you need a lot of work done. So you want professionals that are working for you that are not doing the repairs, but are going to be honest in telling you exactly what it is that you're buying.
You know, we, on a past show, we've had someone in that does, you know, mitigation and that type of stuff, and they brought this point up, and I want to just stress that. It's, you know, a company that's really great at what they do should be eventually someone that you could possibly reach out to, but it shouldn't be your first call. And when I say really good at what they do from a marketing standpoint,
right,
because you're going to get a very large, very all-encompassing quote that can be very, very daunting to most homeowners. And you may need that, but that doesn't need to be your first course of action. And I can't tell you guys how many times I've had a structural engineer look at something and they say, yeah, it's got XYZ, but I wouldn't do anything about it at this point. I would wait.
Well, if you're fortunate enough to have a previous report, that's very useful too, because then they can go back and see if there's any movement or any change from the previous report till today. So if you have something that is an issue that was checked out before, that's wonderful if you call in the same company so they have a copy of the report, or if the homeowner has a copy of that previous report.
But that brings up a good point. Irregardless of what the situation is, call a professional who is licensed in that field, get their take on it. We've said it 100 times. A home inspection is a great overview. If you find something that sounds scary, have a professional in that field look at that one thing specifically, individually, and with foundation issues, we always recommend a structural engineer. Sometimes settlement is normal. Not always, but sometimes that's just part of an older home. How many times do you walk into something and you see a little settlement crack? That happens. Now, sometimes it can be huge. It can be a major big deal. But if a licensed person who that is their job is not to fix it. Their job is to diagnose it. That's the person you want. Then go shop fixes. What does that look like? And what are your options? Because so often I see people that get a $30,000 foundational quote for a settlement crack in a doorway. Maybe they need that, maybe they don't. But, they've been led to believe. And don't get me wrong, no matter what the situation is, I think in life, period, there's going to be a scale of ways you can handle a situation. Do you want to do this, or do you want to do the Cadillac version of it? You may need the Cadillac version of it, but that doesn't need to be your first.
Well, just from my experience with foundations, and again, I'm not a foundation expert or an engineer in any way.
We're realtors.
But you're going to get some settlement cracks. It's just whether those are typical or not. Now, horizontal cracks scare me, especially if they have a bow in it, because then that means something is pressing against the back side of that wall. Now, sometimes I've had engineers come in and say that it's okay, that it hasn't moved. It did its initial settlement, and there's been no movement since. But then I've had others that come in and say, oh, no, you absolutely have got to resupport this wall.
And even the fix is very different depending on who you call. So do you need to support that wall, or do you need to support the entire foundation of the house? Now, again, if it's in your budget and you can do that, then great, do that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's the only option. And
something new I've learned, because we're always learning, there's actually a forensic residential engineer. Now, tell me that's not scary sounding.
Yes.
And what that is they come in and they give you the cause. So they're not just going to look at the crack. They're going to go beyond that and tell you whether it is a soil problem, a drainage problem, or a foundation problem. They dig into it to tell you exactly what's going on.
And that's so important, because if you fix the problem but you don't fix the cause of the problem, it doesn't matter what you do to fix it. It's going to show up somewhere else. So if you've got a major drainage, I can't tell you how many times we see, drainage, your downspout and your landscaping can wreak havoc on your home, from a water situation, a foundational situation, all kinds of problems it can cause. And you might support your foundation, but if you just push the water somewhere else, you didn't fix it.
I think probably a very large percent of the money pits that we see all stem from water issues.
I was going to say, when we talked about, just amongst the three of us, what do you think about when you think about a money pit? Foundational issues and water. Water is the water, mold, water intrusion.
And again, it's all beginning with the maintenance and what's going on the outside of the house. Are the gutters clean? Are they directed away from the foundation? Is the landscaping directing the water away from the foundation?
And how many times over the course of our 20-something years together has it been? Now, don't get me wrong. Again, I'm a realtor, but how many times has it been just something as simple as if they would have routed the downspout away from the house?
Or clogged gutter.
We would never have had foundational issues. We would never have had flooding, water intrusion, mold, because that daily upkeep wasn't done. So the house has turned into a money pit because of neglect, for lack of a better word.
And then you get into things like mold and
that domino. And I think really a money pit, when I think about a money pit, I just think about dominoes of situations. You get water, you get mold, then you've got wet electrical, you have to pull down sheetrock, then you're replacing electrical, you're dealing with structural issues. Now you've got a money pit. And I mean, we could talk for hours about things that we've seen, but I think all of those you could trace them back to something, whether it was a bad decision in the building process, something that was overlooked, a corner that was cut, a maintenance that wasn't taken care of like it should have been, that then snowballs into a money pit. Most homes are not built as a money pit. People don't half build it and call it done.
Yeah.
You know.
And if you do have mold, again, it's not about just treating the mold. You've got to find the cause of it and correct that, then address the mold.
And I think that was one of the biggest takeaways from one of our last shows was, again, call someone who's licensed to test it, who is not the person who's going to mitigate
repair
it.
Correct.
Because if you're in it for profit, I laughed when I built my first home, they put out all these hinges, door hinges in front of me. And I was torn, buddy. That expensive hinge, I wanted it so bad. I've never thought once about what my hinges look like. But if you give people 3 options, it's so easy to think, I've got to do this one because it's the most expensive. That's why you don't want the person you're paying to fix it to be the person that tests it.
Well, and here's the reality of it. You've got companies out there that have wonderful advertising. Their salespeople are very charismatic and wonderful to deal with. And then on the flip side of it, you have the engineers who are not the most charismatic people, but they're going to give you a very, no offense, they're going to give you a very detailed report, but they don't come across the same as salespeople. And people like people that they like. So it's sometimes they go toward the salesperson instead of the direction that they should be going.
And you're going into it with good faith. You want to make sure you're doing it right. You're taking care of your family. And that, again, that doesn't mean most expensive. It might mean that. I hope it doesn't for you. But it doesn't always mean the most expensive fix is the have to.
Yeah. Now, where you do want to spend money is in your inspections. So talking about the mold and things, I know there's a lot of home inspectors that will tack on a mold test, and they only charge, I don't know, what, $50, $75 to do a mold test, which are the same ones that you're getting at your big box stores. But they don't really break it down or give you causes or anything of it. So sometimes you're better to pay extra money to bring in a mold expert to do testing.
And I think this is a good segue. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to let Jack lead us out. But when we come back, we're going to talk about you've got the house under contract. What can you do to prevent getting into a money pit
during your due diligence
Good job
period.
on the lead out, Joe.
Yeah, sorry.
Guys, we'll be right back with Real Estate Today on Talk Radio 102.3.
Gonna be the man who wakes up next to you when I go out. Yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. If I get drunk, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who gets drunk next to you.
WGOW. Stay up to date on the latest news.
I follow the news pretty much throughout the day.
Talk 102.3 WGOW FM.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Questions you need to ask when hiring a realtor. How many homes have you helped clients buy or sell in the past 12 months? Can I speak to some of your previous clients? What's your availability like? Successful realtors are busy, but it's still ideal to work with an agent who has time to answer your questions. So, JR, I ask you this question. Who would you call looking for the greatest realtor around?
That's a silly question, because there's only one answer.
Say it for me.
Cindi Richardson.
Cindi
That's
Richardson
who I call.
and the Richardson Group. A lot of talk when buying a home. Cindi Richardson with the Richardson Group, representing all parts of the Tennessee Valley. Their team is worth their weight in sold. Call 790-7979 or go online. RG423.com. You can skip all the worries and get an immediate cash offer for your home. There is no one better. The Richardson Group and their team. You can hear them every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock right here on 102.3 RG423.com.
The market roller coaster is back. Find out what it means for your retirement on Retirement Straight Talk with Morgan Hill, Sunday at 10, right here on the Talk Monster.
Where you're going to find the largest in-stock selection of custom-designed indoor and outdoor furniture. Scott Chase, the answer man here, 5090 South, the furniture store. Step into the 5090 Design Center and make your dreams a reality. Customized to your liking. Sectional sofas, love seats, recliners. Check out the deck by Spring Creek. Loaded with the largest in-stock selection of custom-designed outdoor furniture you'll find anywhere. 5090 South, the furniture store.
Listen to Tony Sanders Outdoors every Saturday morning from 5 to 7 a.m. for the latest information about all things outdoors. Tony Sanders Outdoors, your source for outdoor information, education, and entertainment. Now that's how you do a promo. No bad jokes or puns.
That was really good. I will dive in and see if I can wade through a commercial. Let me catch my breath. I'm debating on whether I can do it.
I can't even get through one promo without a pun. Tony Sanders Outdoors, 5 to 7 a.m. every Saturday morning. Be sure to check us out on Facebook for our podcast.
A lot of talk when buying a home. Cindi Richardson with the Richardson Group, representing all parts of the Tennessee Valley. Their team is worth their weight in sold. You can skip all the worries and get an immediate cash offer for your home online at RG423.com. There's a lot more cost to home ownership than what you see at the closing table. You gotta contact Cindi Richardson and the Richardson Group. A lot of talk when buying a home, but have you heard of those mystery expenses, closing costs, home inspections? No one better in the home buying industry than my great friend Cindi Richardson, representing all parts of the Tennessee Valley. Cindi Jody, you can hear him here every Saturday at 9 o'clock. Give him a call at 790-7979 or go online at RG423.com.
Talk 102.3.
Real Estate Today with Cindi and Jody is presented by Offers Instantly. If you're looking for the easiest, stress-free way to sell a home, look no further than Offers Instantly. Get the best guaranteed offer on your home in 24 hours with no showings, repairs, or problems. Go to offersinstantly.com or call 205-INFO for more details. Welcome back to Real Estate Today, and we're talking a lot about how to avoid buying a money pit. So we've gone through and we've looked at everything that we can, all our research pre-making an offer. Now we've made an offer and we're under contract.
Yeah.
What are we looking at going forward now?
Well, during your due diligence period, I think what most people do is call in a home inspector first. Now, a home inspector is not, they're not perfect, and they are just there to give the house a one-over. They're going to look at absolutely everything and let you know if you need to call another specialist in a certain field. So they may say that the roof looks a little worn, have a roofer inspect it. They may throw up some red flags to call in other people.
And those are, we use the term buyer's due diligence. Like Cindi said, an inspector is going to give you a one-over. They're going to give you a broad view. And I can't tell you how many times I hear, well, the inspector missed that. The inspector missed that. Their job is to give you an overview. If you're concerned about the roof, if you're concerned about the HVAC, if you're concerned about the foundation, you need to get someone who's licensed in that field to look into it further. The property condition disclosure is a good place to start, anything that they're aware of. And I find, I don't know about you guys, but people are typically concerned about things that they have life experience with. Have they lived in a home that flooded? Did they grow up in a home where they had a house fire or they had mold issues? Those things are going to be, sore spots, sensitive spots, understandably. But the house as a whole, if the inspector points something out, you want to have a licensed professional in that field come and look at that particular item. But that does have to be done during the inspection period.
Yeah, during your due diligence. And you don't have to call in a home inspector. You can call individuals in that are licensed in the field that they're going to be inspecting. So if you have concerns about the foundation, the roof, the electrical, the plumbing, you can call people in that will inspect those individual items.
And that's a good way to get straight to the point. If there are things that, maybe your dad is an electrician and he can handle any electrical issues that come up. So you're not worried about that. But you're worried about the roof situation or you're worried about the HVAC situation. And you want to have those two things. That's a good way to maximize your funds if you don't want to pay for a home inspection and also pay for specific.
And you really want to check out those big ticket items, the ones that are going to cost you money down the road. You don't want it to be sooner than you expect it.
Right. And you can't technically ask the seller to inspect an item. One of the ones we see very, very frequently is due to the age of the HVAC system, they recommend inspection and cleaning. That means call an HVAC person, a licensed HVAC person to come and look at it.
Yeah.
So
you also want to have a termite inspector come during this period. So they're going to come in and they're going to look for termites, mold, mildew, fungus, any type of wood-destroying organisms. But what they're not going to do is take down any sheetrock or anything like that. So if there's things behind the wall that they can't see, then that's just going to be, you
can't see.
can't see it. So, but if they throw up a red flag, that's when you may want to have a discussion with the seller and see how that can be inspected to make sure that there's not bigger issues.
Well, and you just made me think too. I think it's important to not get in the weeds here too, guys. Some things happening to your home are just part of home ownership. Things are going to break. Things are going to happen. You're going to have maintenance. You're going to have general upkeep. What we're trying to do is head off those big items, things that maybe were not done correctly or have not been maintained. So don't get lost, in the, you can't see past what's right in front of you because you're worried about something else. So, the other thing is, we've talked about don't call somebody that's going to financially benefit from the repairs. If they've had work done in the past, was that work warranted? And does that warranty transfer to the new homeowner?
Right. Because some of them, like if they've had foundation work, there is a fee to transfer that. And if you don't transfer that at the time of sale, then the warranty is void. So you want to make sure whether that's foundation repairs, windows, central heat and air, check the warranties while you're under the due diligence period so you know exactly what it is that you have.
Roofs, foundational issues, termite contracts, those are things that have warranties. But like Cindy said, if you don't transfer it, you don't reap the benefits of that.
Well, I don't think it's important to look at doing a home warranty. Outside of that, that's another option. If you have concerns about some of the things, Murphy's going to pop up. You may get into a home and the home inspection takes place and the HVAC is working fine. 2 months later, it quits working.
Right.
Then you go to turn the heat on because you bought the house in the summer and it's so hot you can't test the heat. When it gets cold, you turn the heat on, the heater doesn't work. Those are things that you can't foresee. Look, Murphy's Law happens to all of us. So it's good to go ahead and kind of have an idea that you hope it doesn't happen, but it can.
Well, another good thing to think about, to look into, that I've actually had happen a few times in the past couple years is insurability. Mm-hmm. Look at past insurance claims. Yeah. They didn't disclose anything, but they've had a $20,000 loss claim on their house. What happened? Something happened, I had a
And
home.
the insurance companies can pull the report.
Yes.
So get a homeowner's quote and they can pull the CLUE report, which is the Comprehensive Loss Underwriting Exchange Report.
And guys, a good place to start right when you get under contract is go ahead and figure out, shop your homeowner's insurance. Yep. Get an agent that's going to be able to give you that information. I had a house a few years ago that, we found out had actually flooded 30 times or something insane. It ended up being in a, detrimental flood zone area. And the owner disclosed the home flooded and it needed flood insurance. but it wasn't even insurable. The home was not insurable. So we ended up, long story short, it wasn't sold, because it had major issues that weren't necessarily problems with the house. But man, you want to move into a house that, floods on average once or twice a year. That's a whole lot different than just,
once every
flood
500
insurance.
years.
Yeah. And I mean, needing flood insurance is not a killer for a lot of people. It's just, again, something that you need to know on the front end going in. Is the risk worth the reward? And maybe it is. That's fine.
That's not a financial burden you want to find out later.
Exactly.
So do find out if you need flood insurance and the cost of your homeowners, including your flood insurance, during your due diligence period.
Has it had, several years ago, we all got in a situation where a lot of homes had storm damage, drastic storm damage from tornadoes. Again, not a scary thing if everything was disclosed and it was fixed correctly. But how many homes did we have with major issues?
Well, and I think that, again, that's when it's important to have that clue report, too, because if they had a claim to replace something and that item was not replaced.
I've had that happen.
Yes, I have, too. And that becomes an issue. I mean, I've had inspectors get up on roofs and find actual marks where the insurance company has marked hail damage, and then the roof was never replaced.
And again, you got to know that on the front end. That's not something you want to find out after the fact. I've had more than once. We get close to closing and we find out there was a $25,000 claim on a property. Well, does it have a new roof? Does it have, what happened? So again, not scary if you know about it. It's a money pit if you don't. If you start finding things out, previous fire damage, all those good things you don't want to surprise.
Yeah, that one's you never want the shock of when the home inspector goes up into the attic and you have charred rafters.
You had that before too, and I mean honestly, in the last situation I had the homeowners had no idea. The people that own the home currently had no idea that there had been a previous fire. So again, got to make sure you're calling trustworthy people that are licensed and insured, and you're checking it out.
If the home has stucco, that's something you want to have looked at
by a professional who does that. It's
Right.
much more common now. I know 20 some odd years ago, it was rare, it was a rarity. And I think back then there was like one person that did it correctly. And here in this area, we have a lot of synthetic stucco. We
Which
don't
is
have
what?
real stucco, so you don't have actual, solid material that is much more finicky. Again, I'm not a professional in that field, so
Well,
nobody
the
come after
synthetic
me.
stucco is the one that was holding the moisture, which then would cause the wood to rot behind it, and you would not know until there was an issue. So you couldn't visually see it until the wall began to collapse.
Discolor, stucco would fall off. You'd have it, and again, we're not bad mouthing anybody. There's a right way to do it. But it became very, very popular several years ago, and people were just slapping it on houses, and people didn't understand the maintenance and things. Cement fiber siding is a great material. It's a wonderful material, but it requires maintenance that vinyl siding does not. So if you've got somebody that's not painting and upkeeping and doing things the way they are, that can have rot and issues just like wood siding can. So you just want to make sure that you're dealing with people that understand the situation you're dealing with, whatever that
It's
is.
important to understand, too, when you walk into that, every aspect of your home does require maintenance.
Right.
From your siding to your decking to handrails, anything like that. All those things require annual maintenance at the least.
Well, and one thing we see here very, very frequently, and I'm kind of jumping a little bit, but we were talking about termite inspections before. It is absolutely not unheard of to find live termites in a property. We just live in a very wet, all four seasons type
but what you want to know is if there's damage.
Exactly. That is the kicker. Is there damage, and is there previous damage that's not causing structural issues? There's no live termites making it worse. I can't tell you how many times I've had people just run from a property because they find live termites. Well, those can be treated. If you find them, they've not caused damage, they're handled the correct way, and you stay on top of that, not a problem. But can be big problems.
They can. All right, guys, we're going to say we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about trying to avoid buying a money pit as we talk more about things you can do during your due diligence period. This is Real Estate Today with Cindi and Jody on Talk Radio 102.3.
All the things that come
WGOW. Your city, your news.
It's the topics that matter to me.
Talk 102.3 WGOW FM.
Summer is almost here, and a limited number of lake lots are going to be available to the public soon. One day only, Saturday, April 20th. Experience resort lake living at a fraction of the cost. 2-acre wooded estate lots, just $79.9. Lake lots with boat slips from $64.9. Private golf cart access to a brand new marina, 10 miles of walking trails, 3.5 miles of shoreline, and a brand new 25,000 square foot clubhouse. Summer waterfront concerts, and your boat just a golf cart ride away. Pickleball courts, pools, on-site coffee shop, and a whole lot more. And financing is available. Limited property release on Saturday, April 20th. You can visit the website lakelivingtn.com, lakelivingtn.com, or call area code 865-408-9992 and start making memories.
Nothing beats coming home to a clean house. Get that clean home feeling by calling Nuga Home Cleaning. Professional and personalized care for every home they enter. There is no contract to sign. They offer move-in and out cleaning, house cleaning services for seniors, and best of all, you can request as much or as little cleaning as you want. Why not make it a point to reclaim your weekends? So what are you waiting for? Call 423-561-9042 or check out NugaHomeCleaning.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. hims.com/joy.
The market roller coaster is back. Find out what it means for your retirement on Retirement Straight Talk with Morgan Hill, Sunday at 10, right here on the Talk Monster.
Attention, ladies and gentlemen, Flight 777 to Funtown with continued service to Wintersville is ready to board. Please make sure you have your new instant game tickets from the Tennessee Lottery in hand, and thank you for choosing game-changing fun.
With chances to win up to $500,000, you'll be flying first class to cash prizes with our new instant games. Hurry to your nearest Tennessee Lottery retailer to get on board today. Only from the Tennessee Lottery. Please play responsibly.
You've gotten your finances ready to buy a home, but are you ready to own a home? There's a lot more cost to home ownership than what you see at the closing table. That's why you gotta contact the nicest person in the realty business, Cindi Richardson and the Richardson Group. Skip all the worries and get an immediate cash offer for your home. The Cindi Richardson Group, representing all parts of the Tennessee Valley. Their team is worth their weight in sold. Cindi Jody, you can hear them here every Saturday at 9 o'clock. Go online, rg423.com. Do you want the highest possible offer for the sale of your home? Do you want to move into your dream home but still need to sell your current home? You got to stop all the drama, folks, and you got to call my great friend Cindi Richardson with the Richardson Group online at rg423.com.
Talk 102.3.
Welcome back to Real Estate Today with Cindi and Jody. We've had a lot of fun talking this morning about how to avoid buying a money pit and the things you need to watch for before you actually make an offer on a home, and then once you get under contract in your due diligence period. What are some of the things that have stood out to you guys over the past several years that kind of brought this talk? Because we've talked about this topic for a long time, and I know I've got the ones that the contracts in my career that I've kind of had that assessment of the money pit.
I think
things like
one of
that,
the things
so.
we all have in common is a whole lot of it has to do with basements and crawl spaces.
Mhm.
So for me, it's if you're seeing any type of daylight in your basement, there's a problem.
Well, and I think for me, over the course of my career, the thing that I'm always amazed by is what is important to somebody is not important to somebody else.
Right.
What you'll walk into a house where literally I can stick my hand in between the blocks in the foundation, and they're worried about the downspout on the side of the house, and I want to be like, do you see what's happening down there? You know, it's about life experience. What do you have access to? What have you experienced? What can you do?
I think this is when experience is very important too, because in the very beginning, I think my list of items for buyers to take a look at may have been half a page. Now, after many, many years and lots of experience, much larger list of things to pay attention to make sure that you're not buying a money pit.
And again, my job is to help you reach your goal. I'm not a structural engineer. I'm not a pest control expert, but my job is to make sure that you're noticing the things that you may want to look into more. I'm not diagnosing those problems, but sometimes I am pointing your face towards them.
Yeah.
Does that bother you? Is this a problem? You know, I think for me, probably one of the ones that stands out the most is the house that had burned before. You know, I mean, we got right down to the inspection of the people that were buying that home. I had it listed. Inspector walks up in the attic and says, do you realize that this house has burned before? And we're like, excuse me, what? So come to find out, it had all been done correctly. Everything was fine. Buyers felt okay, moved forward. But you talk about terrifying if you had not known that.
Right.
You go to take your Christmas tree upstairs and realize all of a sudden you've got charred rafters.
Yeah.
What are you looking at? You know, and that could go really okay or really badly.
Yeah, and I think most of mine have been foundation. My life experience, I grew up in very rural areas, so dirt cellars were not uncommon.
Out of the ordinary, yeah.
Yeah, and dirt cellars that would pick up 3 feet of water from time to time, that was common too. I'm not sure why, but it was common.
Yeah.
And so for mine, we were looking at a house in the area, fairly rural, built about the same time, 1930s. We were walking around the house and we kind of pointed out, hey, that gutter looks weird. The gutter had kicked out from the top of the house about 2 feet. So then we walked around the house, figured out how to enter into the cellar, walked in, and the bottom had kicked out of one of the walls where they had raised the house to make room for the cellar.
You know, yeah.
And yeah. So
And I think sometimes it's just about understanding what you have. Have there been additions to the house? Have things changed from when it was originally built? And again, nothing is scary if you understand it and accept it on the front end. What is scary is when something slaps you in the face that you don't, when the bathtub falls through the upstairs into the main level.
Yeah.
You know, a la Tom Hanks. None of us want to be upstairs wheezing hysterically because the bathtub fell through the floor.
I would still be laughing.
You know,
I bought a house and I always check the bathroom floors to see if it's soft because that's a good indication. And it did not feel soft at all. Well, when we got in there to pull the flooring back to replace it, it's because they had put tags, vehicle tags, all on the floor. So all this metal over the top of the floor, which was soft, by the way, and had to be replaced. But I thought that was quite creative of them.
Yeah.
It was.
Just as long as you know it's not scary.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is have people that you trust.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to get someone out there to look at something if you have an issue. Well, guys, thanks so much for tuning in today. We hope you guys have a great day. We hope you learned a little something today. Listen to us. We will talk to you guys next week on Real Estate Today with Cindi and Jody.
Cause we've done this before, so you come on.